By 1944, the tide of the war had turned in the east, but Hitler's iron grip on Western Europe remained unbreakable. The only way to win the war was to strike at the heart of the Nazi Empire. The challenge was immense. The entire coastline was transformed into the Atlantic Wall, a fortress of concrete, steel, and a million mines. The operation to breach this wall was the most complex military undertaking in history. Operation Overlord. D-Day. This was not a battle for territory. It was a battle for the very future of democracy. The plan required perfect secrecy, unprecedented cooperation between American, British, and Canadian forces, and a moment of luck from the chaotic North Atlantic weather. Today, we go deep into the full, astonishing story of D-Day, from the brilliant deception that fooled Hitler to the brutal, chaotic hours on Omaha Beach, where victory was measured in inches and lives. The weight of the world rested on these beaches. Before a single soldier could land, the German High Command had to be convinced that the invasion would happen somewhere else. This was the masterstroke known as Operation Fortitude. The goal was to make Hitler believe the main invasion force, codenamed FUSAG, 1st U.S. Army Group, was positioned in Kent, preparing to cross the narrowest point of the English Channel toward Pas de Calais. The Allies created a phantom army, inflatable rubber tanks, dummy landing craft, fake radio traffic chatter, and even hiring actors to impersonate American generals in London pubs. They even gave command of this army to the most feared Allied commander, General George S. Patton. Hitler swallowed the bait completely. He held back critical Panzer Divisions near Calais, convinced that the landings in Normandy were merely a diversion. This monumental deception was the silent, unseen victory that saved thousands of lives on June 6th. The first shots of D-Day were fired not with rifles but with lies. The invasion began not at dawn, but in the chaos of the pre-dawn darkness. Thousands of American and British paratroopers were dropped behind enemy lines to secure bridges, silence coastal batteries, and sow confusion. This was a brutal, disorganized affair. Due to heavy cloud cover and intense anti-aircraft fire, many paratroopers were dropped miles off course, scattered across the French countryside. But this disorganization became its own weapon. Small groups led by sergeants and lieutenants improvised. They captured objectives with unmatched courage. The American 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions and the British 6th Airborne fought alone for hours, facing entrenched German veterans. Their sacrifice was paramount, ensuring the troops hitting the beaches later that morning would not be immediately annihilated. At 6:30 a.m., after a massive naval and air bombardment, the assault began. The invasion was divided into 5 sectors: Utah and Gold, relatively lighter resistance. The landing went largely as planned, aided by the bombardment. Juno, Canadian. Heavy initial resistance, but the Canadians fought through and pushed further inland on D-Day than any other Allied force. Sword, British. Fierce tank battles immediately followed the landing, but the British established a firm beachhead. But one beach became the ultimate meat grinder, Omaha Beach. The pre-landing bombardment here was ineffective, missing the most crucial German strongpoints. As the American 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions approached, they were met by a concentrated, devastating wall of machine gun fire from the cliffs. For hours, the invasion teetered on the brink of disaster. Men were pinned down. Landing craft were destroyed. Omaha was nearly abandoned. It was only through the localized, decentralized courage of a few junior officers and sergeants who, on their own initiative, led desperate charges up the bluffs that the beach was finally breached. Omaha became a testament to individual bravery over military planning. Securing the beaches was only the start. To win the war, millions of tons of supplies had to be landed. The Germans expected the Allies to capture a major port. The Allies decided to bring their own ports. This was the genius of the Mulberry Harbors, 2 massive, artificial ports constructed back in Britain and towed across the Channel. These were floating docks, breakwaters, and roadways that allowed cargo ships to unload directly onto the French coast. This engineering miracle was vital, allowing the Allies to sustain the massive force needed to push inland. Simultaneously, The Allies executed Operation PLUTO, pipelines under the ocean, flexible pipelines laid across the channel to pump fuel directly from Britain to Normandy. This eliminated the need for thousands of vulnerable fuel tankers. D-Day was won not just by soldiers but by engineers, logistics, and industrial might. By midnight on June 6, 1944, despite devastating losses, particularly on Omaha, the Allies had successfully landed over 156,000 men and established beachheads across the 5 sectors. The Atlantic Wall was cracked. The Battle of Normandy was far from over. It would be a long, brutal campaign. But D-Day accomplished its central goal. It established a permanent second front that Hitler could not dislodge. It sealed the fate of the Third Reich. D-Day remains the ultimate symbol of Allied cooperation, technological ingenuity, and the sheer raw courage of the soldiers who stormed those bloody shores. Their sacrifice opened the path to freedom and allowed the world to finally look towards the end of the war. Join us next time on War Stories as we uncover more untold chapters of history. Subscribe now.